Well, it looks tacky when you sign in red. Plus, you can't copy it. Did we have? Were we supposed to have a sign-in sheet last night for the retreat?
By George, we were.
I didn't see one.
I didn't either.
Yeah, we didn't have a sign-in sheet last night for the work session.
Can you?
Good catch, Randy. Oops.
Oops.
Oops, yeah, oops.
Thank you.
I'll make sure to sign it while I still remember I was there.
Guess we can just put times two. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started.
Letter of.
Good evening. Today is Wednesday, September 25th, 2019. I'd like to call this evening's City Council meeting to order. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could I have the roll call?
Councilmember Boff.
Here.
Councilmember Stimmel.
Here.
Councilmember Williams.
Present.
Councilmember Strobehn.
Here.
Councilmember Cerveny.
Here.
Mayor Thornton.
Here. Next is the consent agenda. If there are no requests for any items to be removed, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. I just have one topic to share with the council this evening, and you all have received a copy of Dan Cairns, our city attorney's email regarding the Washington Court of Appeals for the Growth Management Hearings Board. And the Court of Appeals did deny the motion from the petitioners to reconsider the litigation at the, part of the litigation, which includes our two parcels at the junction. So it'll go now, probably move on to the Supreme Court. So it's making progress. Mr. Cairns is absent again this evening and excused. So if there's any questions, he will be here at the next City Council meeting. So that's all I have this evening. And again, Mr. Cairns is excused, so we'll go right to council member comments. Councilmember Boff.
Yeah. I have nothing tonight, Mayor.
Councilmember Stimmel.
I'll just say it's good to see students in here.
It is.
Yes, it is.
In fact, your classmates.
Councilmember Williams.
Nothing this time, Mayor.
Councilmember Strobehn.
I have nothing except I will be absent at the end of October meeting.
The second meeting in October?
Second meeting, yes.
Okay, thanks for the heads up. And Councilmember Cerveny.
Just like to thank everyone for coming. I know it's a light agenda, but we still enjoy having you here.
Good.
And staff.
Thank you for that. So next we'll move right into staff reports. We have two staff reports this evening. The first one will be presented by Mr. Jeff Swanson, our Community Development, Economic Development Contract Manager.
Something or other.
Yeah.
Wizard of all.
Swiss Army knife. Well, good evening, council. I'll go through, thanks, Dustin, got that. Got the mouse here, thanks. I'll go through a brief report here and give you a quick update on development in the city. We have McKay Esposito has been contracted to do an evaluation of the Community Development Department, and we expect the final report October 4th. Johansson Wing Architects, they continue to prepare construction documents for the tenant improvements at the TES building that'll allow the city to consolidate operations in that building. And we actually have a meeting tomorrow morning with the interior designer from the architectural firm. So we'll be, hopefully not choosing colors, but we're bringing in a heavy to help us with the color selection. But I'll claim that I'm colorblind if I'm asked to choose colors. DKS Associates is doing two projects for us right now. They're doing traffic modeling at the intersection of La Center Road and Paradise Park Road. That's the issue with the plan called for traffic signal there, and it's 450 feet from the center of the roundabout at the East Ramp Terminal, and the state would not look favorably upon a traffic signal at that location because of the queuing that it would cause on the ramp terminal itself. So we're examining alternatives there, including a roundabout, construction of a roundabout. DKS is also analyzing the La Center Road, Timmon Road intersection for possible inclusion in the city's 6-year transportation improvement program. And city engineer Tony Cooper and I will likely be bringing that before council here in the next month or so. And what the objective is there is, since we've received $1.5 million for the East 4th Street project, we would reduce the amount in the 6-year tip for that project and just transfer that amount to this project and bring it into the 6-year tip. So the TIF rate would stay the same, and it would. We have a number of developments where when they went through the preliminary plat approval process or preliminary site plan for those that are commercial developments, one of the conditions that was imposed, conditions of approval, was that they pay a proportionate share of the Timmon La Center Road project in addition to the TIF rate. And so that's proven to be a bit of a challenging condition to deal with. So this would allow, through a post-decision review process, for those applicants to come in and have that condition lifted. If we include that project in the 6-year tip, then they just pay the TIF rate. We had a meeting with Cowlitz Tribe. Councilmember Cerveny was there, Mayor Thornton was there, the department heads were there, and then a number of the tribal leadership were there and their attorneys. And that was held September 3rd. We covered a number of items that are outstanding in the intergovernmental agreement and the status of those, and are planning for another meeting to take place in about 3 months. We want to hold these at least quarterly as we work on different issues and projects with the Cowlitz Tribe. So we'll be shooting for early December, I believe, on the next meeting.
Can you give us an idea of what you guys are talking about?
Sure. So we talked a lot about, we did talk about the La Center Road, Paradise Park Road intersection, because the tribe has a financial share obligation in that project for the traffic signal. We also talked about the Paradise Park Road right-of-way. They have interest in acquiring the right-of-way where they have some remnant land from the construction of the interchange. And it's land that's owned by the city. The city's had it appraised. And so we're discussing perhaps surplusing that property. They're expressing interest in it. We also discussed monument signs in the roundabouts at the ramp terminals on both the west side and the east side of the interchange. We talked about the zip code, changing the zip code on the west side of the freeway, so it's all the center, and gauging their interest on that issue. And I'm kind of shooting from memory here, so.
But that pretty much covers the substantive parts of the meeting. The city we have not had a meeting with the tribe for several months, so we really just reinitiated our regularly scheduled meetings with the tribe. And like Mr. Swanson said, we'll be conducting them at least quarterly. I was happy to see that there was great representation from the tribe. The chairman was there, the vice chairman was there. We had representation from the Cowlitz County Tribal Gaming Commission. Their police chief did stop in for a little while. He wasn't able to stay, but he was there. 2 of their attorneys were there. So it was, it was a good meeting, and then all the city managers were there, so it was really a meeting of introduction, because there's a lot of new faces, a lot of new people. So just kind of get reboot, if you will, and get a, like I say, a regular schedule. program with them again.
Can you elaborate on the monument sign? Well, it's been kicked around. I noticed they took down the temporary fencing that was up there to show where it was going to go, and it's gone now. So I know that there was some disagreement on what they were supposed to do up there. Where is that going?
I believe that the city's position is that in both of the roundabouts on the Ram terminals, that it's a welcome to the city of La Center. The tribe would like the one on the west side to acknowledge the Cowlitz Reservation. And so there's some discussion about that, some discussion about design, and so there's a lot more substance to dig into on that issue before it's resolved.
In other words, we're pretty much where we were
A year ago.
a year ago. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's,
But what we approved and what they approved, no, they don't want to do.
well, what was agreed to originally in the intergovernmental agreement, the tribe has made several proposals to change that up a little bit. I don't think that the city council has not really found any of those options to be acceptable to this point. So we continue to have a discussion as to how we can work through that with the tribe. It also appears that we're going to have another roundabout at the junction area. So we're going to also factor that into our,
Where the light was supposed to go in?
right, yeah, that's the one that
It's
we're actually
likely
referring
that
to on Paradise Park. That right now is designed to be an intersection, but it appears it'll be a roundabout.
It would also be better, more visible for the incoming traffic. But they, for their benefit, they did mention shared use of the monument sign, so that's some progress. So, you know, the dialogue continues, we just still haven't gotten to any concrete.
Right. Being those type of meetings and concerning the city and such, I think that it'd be, or strongly suggest having a report after those meetings of what they entailed so that the council is not blindsided by it. Instead of just a quick coverage of what it is, can maybe some sort of a brief inside a report of some sort so we know?
Status of where we're at.
Yeah.
Could do that.
You said we discussed it, and that's why I asked you to come back and elaborate on it. And still trying to figure out, my understanding was the tribal elders weren't accepting what we wanted to do, what was in the agreement.
Well, that's the discussion, exactly. So we're trying to work through that with them, yeah. It wasn't the elders, it was the tribal council.
Council, whatever.
Yeah. So, and just
And the
for your
elder-
benefit too, Tom, there are two council members that are on that meeting, Councilmember Cerveny and Councilmember Boff is also in on those meetings. He wasn't able to attend at that particular meeting because he was out of town. But yeah, we have two council members there as well, so
Okay.
we'll be happy to share that, no problem.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
There's one other factor we need to keep in mind, and I think the intergovernmental agreement that was signed by the tribe, I think they made a commitment, a financial commitment to the traffic signal. I don't want to see that get overlooked now that we're talking roundabout.
Right, it's pretty clear that they're in for an inflation-adjusted $500,000 amount towards a traffic control device at that intersection. And roundabout is a traffic control device, so is a traffic signal.
Okay.
So,
Just don't want that to get overlooked.
absolutely not.
Will the roundabout be diameter-wise as big as the other roundabouts? Because that one gets a lot of truck traffic.
Well, we're getting out of my wheelhouse a little bit because I don't hang PE after my name. But DKS, who's doing that analysis, will bring forward some recommendations there. They'll look at how much right-of-way is available, how much would need to be acquired, and given the trips, the type of trips through that area, they'll propose something that should work there.
Okay, because it needs to be bigger than this one. I followed a big truck through the other day, and he came in the right lane to go up the hill, because he had to get over the right to get enough room to swing around to make it onto the thing. So we need, this circle down here is just a little small.
Yeah. I think this circle also has mountable curbs, though, for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are
Well,
different ways.
But the
you can
mountable curb
construct.
was too small. The radius would be too small. He had to go into the right lane, which was the slip lane, to
Okay.
get enough radius to get everything around to go on up the hill towards the up Pacific Highway.
Yeah, I'm confident they'll address all that. It's definitely outside of my wheelhouse, so.
Matt?
Speaking directly to the roundabout here in town, the truck traffic shouldn't go that route. Truck traffic should be routed to the right, eastern on right, up Aspen and then 10th and over.
Well, he went up the slip lane, he was coming off the bridge, went up the slip lane, and then went up Pacific Highway, so he had enough a radius for the length.
It wasn't designed
Yeah, that he was running over everything, he was long.
to, he was out of compliance.
Yeah.
There's a small sign out there that says truck route in points to it, so he must have missed the sign.
Anyway,
Okay, next item I have here is, as you're aware, this was raised at prior meetings, but the Clark County planning staff have proposed some countywide planning policies related to Cowles Tribe in the city of Woodland. And we submitted comments back to the county last Friday seeking more balanced countywide policies with respect to tribal development and some reciprocity in the language, and proposed some alternative language. So that has been submitted. Next, I'll bring up the go to this main map here so you know kind of what I'm talking about, visually speaking. This will cooperate with me. Okay, I apologize, the numbers are a little bit small. And I'll just highlight a few of these where we've had some movement in the last month or so. Number 5 is the Schlentz annexation. And it's a 5-acre parcel. We're awaiting a 60% petition from the applicant on this. We've been waiting for a while, but we're beginning to hear more from the applicant. It sounds like they're getting close to being ready to submit for that. The critical areas ordinance, which applies throughout the jurisdiction, this is set for a public hearing at the October 8th Planning Commission meeting, and then City Council on October 23rd. So Councilmember Strobehn here and the critical areas code, probably very disappointed.
We'll be on a cruise ship.
Okay, well, you can like read it that night while you're on the cruise ship. And open the packet, it's a couple hundred pages, and it's riveting code language. So hope you'll enjoy that one.
With a cold beer.
Heritage Center Building B, that's project number 6 on the map. And as you can, if you've been by there, you can see that they're well under construction, getting the foundation walls up. Center Middle School, no change there. That's number 7. Let's see.
Is there a target for groundbreaking?
On the middle school, I think they had hoped to be under construction by this point. So I think the groundbreaking is pending resolution of issues between the Corps of Engineers and the Department of Ecology. So I haven't heard anything new from the superintendent, so I'm assuming that they're still trying to sort those issues out on that particular site. Let's see, Minute Management, they've been submitting some drawings to Tony for review for their site plan. So we have some review going on there. That's project number 8. Let's see, the other one here that I wanted to highlight, of course, Riverside Estates, number 17. The pump station is under construction, and I believe Tony has signed off on the Phase 2 civil engineering plans, and so that'll be going forward, which includes the half-street improvements on Larson Drive, where those lots go down Larson Drive. And we continue to work with Timberland, who's the applicant on the Phase 3 piece for the multifamily development on their, getting them closer to final site plan approval, comments, going back and forth and stuff. And that, I think the other one I wanted to highlight was project number 15, the Holly subdivision. Civil improvements there are under construction, so that one's moving along pretty quickly from the preliminary plat approval hearing to now they're turning dirt. Any questions?
Number 9.
What's that?
Number 9.
Number 9, Schwartz B&B. That's a conditional use permit. It was approved with conditions August 12th by the hearings examiner, and we've asked the applicant to submit some revised plans that meet the downtown development code.
Will they be doing anything with the pizza place?
This doesn't do anything with the pizza place.
Okay, is there anything going on with the pizza place?
Not that we're aware of. There's no applications or anything that have come in to do any kind of tenant improvements or
Okay.
other work on it.
I was just curious if they were going to combine with that, so.
No, they're not. It's actually a private property there. I think there's a mobile home, and so they're going to construct a bed and breakfast. They've done a boundary line adjustment through this process so that they can meet setbacks with the mobile home. So there'd basically be 2 lots there, one with the mobile home on it, one with the B&B.
Well, the mobile home will stay.
That existing mobile home?
It's an existing mobile home, yeah. So the only thing that's happening on that property is they've adjusted the boundary line.
It's in horrible condition.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Yep.
And I've had complaints about the apple tree dropping apples onto the sidewalk.
I haven't heard of any complaints
I've
there,
I've
but,
had complaints.
okay. So,
I drove through Riverside Estates a few days ago, and I see that they are installing the full cutoff light fixtures. So that may be the first in the center, I believe.
yeah, I'm not familiar with the light fixtures that they're putting up there, but, okay.
Dark sky.
Dark skies.
The dark skies, they'll
Yep.
help the dark skies, yeah.
Okay, any other questions, council? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good report. So we have one other staff report this evening, and it's from our finance manager, Mr. Dustin Bailey.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Tonight, I wanted to first talk about the 2020 budget process. We've had a few discussions about some of the items that we were working on, but I wanted to spend a little bit of time just discussing the actual methodology we're employing this year. And so the management team, Budget Advisory Committee, we're working on what's called a zero-based budget. Some of you may be familiar with it, some of the community might not. So if you've heard some of this before, I'm sorry, but I'm just going to go through a brief description. Zero-based budgeting is the process of creating a budget from nothing or the point of zero, which is why it's called that, without using the prior year's budget or spending numbers. No activities in the budget are assumed to be untouchable. All expenses are judged and must be justified to remain in the budget. So budgets are instruments used to curb spending, accomplish financial goals. Most budgets are prepared as baseline budgets. You've probably heard that term before, but they're based on a previous year's budget spending figures. In this method, managers can easily look at the prior year's budget and just with a few percentage points here and there, depending on what the analysis shows. Sometimes organizational budgets and spending are beyond revenue streams, making it necessary to evaluate the entire expenditure structure, which is called a zero-based budget. So that's what we're going through this year. The whole entire expenditure structure is being evaluated and justified by the departments. Below in the staff report, I have a flow chart of what our budget process is looking like. This year, it began in May. To date, the Budget Advisory Committee has evaluated department expenditure budgets for the wastewater, utility, finance, and police. Monday, September 23rd, we met again and This report was written on the 19th, but we looked at the community development, public works, and we also looked at the legislative budget. The full budget with revenue projections will be presented to the Budget Advisory Committee in October, and the schedule of the required public hearings you can see in the flow chart here. So one thing that I wanted to point out to the council is that we will be having some working sessions with the council to go through the numbers and the figures, how we've prepared, and start discussing some policy decisions when it comes to the budget. Moving on to my staff report, the accountant deputy city clerk position was announced August 20th, closed September 16th. Interest in the position is really overwhelming. We have about 150 applicants, so it's been a good interest in the position. And we're working with Teresa Johnson, CPA, and her staff, and Paul Lewis to evaluate applications before the interviews. We're also going to do a skills test of applicants, just as an additional evaluation tool. And we expect to work on interviews in October. Then the last item in the written staff report is the gambling tax update for August, and you can see the card rooms continue to be in good shape compared to previous year numbers, a little bit above what we had in 2018. One item that I did not include in that staff report I wanted to mention to the council is that the city received advisement from the Association of Washington Cities to start applying the revised Code of Washington update that happened recently when it comes to public disclosure requests. And so the city has adopted a fee structure and fee schedule for Public Records Act requests, and that can be found on the city website and at all the city offices. So if you have questions from citizens, I thought it would be important to mention it. Are there any questions?
You've already adopted those fees, and what are those fees?
There was no adoption because it's in the RCW. The fees are listed in there, so there wasn't an adoption process. It's just simply implementing the revised Code of Washington requirements. And so, give me 1 second, I will pull up what the fees are.
Did Oregon just do this too? Because I saw something on the news the other day about some, I think Oregon also adopted this same policy.
Well, their own, not ours.
Oh, yeah, no, but it makes sense.
So the RCW outlines a couple different calculations. I'm just going to read it to you. Photocopies of public records, printed copies of electronic public records, when requested by a person, or the use of an agency equipment for photocopying records is 15 cents per page. Public records scanned into electronic format and for use of the agency equipment to scan records, 10 cents per page. Electronic files or attachments uploaded to email, cloud-based data store service, or other means, electronic delivery is 5 cents for each 4 records. Transmission of public records in electronic format for the use of agency equipment to send records, 10 cents per gigabyte of data. And if the city requires use of a digital storage media or some kind to provide the records to the requester, its actual cost of the storage media. And so what the city got advised by AWC was to provide an estimate to the requesters of what the cost would be for their request within 5 days. And if it's more than $10, the city requires a 10% down payment before we start the records request. And like I said, that's all on the city's website, but I'm happy to provide a copy to the council if they would like to see it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, it answers it.
Okay.
Is this all brought on because of the records requests that I've been seeing going back and forth in the emails?
It has not necessarily. It's a recent revision to Revised Code of Washington that Association of Washington Cities advised us to start adhering to.
Just following the state guideline.
Gotcha. It's just the timing, that's all. That's what I was asking. Yeah,
Coincidental.
yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Good report. So next on the agenda, we have citizens' public comment. If anyone would like to address the council, please step up to the podium, and if you'd give us your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Now's your opportunity.
Short meeting. Nothing tonight, Al?
Neither one of you?
I'm disappointed.
We're like the two old guys on the Muppets.
Okay, seeing that no one is stepping up to the podium, we'll close public comment, and that really concludes our agenda for this evening. That was a short meeting. I do appreciate everyone attending this evening. Thank you for being here.
Move to adjourn?
And with that, motion? Second. Been moved and second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.